going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog and the Underdog Fantasy family. DMendy here, joined by the Doc, Lil Cheesecake, and Marty Party. And I've got one simple question for you guys. Did any of you in any of your leagues start Johnny Brito tonight?
No, thank God.
No. Well, why? What happened? That good, huh?
6 earned runs in less than an inning. He got absolutely destroyed. If you picked up Edouard Julien, who we'll talk about on the show tonight, he hit his first major league homer. And so much great stuff just like that coming in tonight's show. You know how we do. We're going to get into all our segments in just a second. Boys, anything new in the world of Doc, Cheesecake, or Marty Party that the audience needs to know? Nothing.
I have,
you guys are
I have
boring.
an injured finger, and I can't bend it, so I flip off everybody now.
How'd you do that from basketball?
No, I tripped on the sidewalk.
What?
I tripped on the sidewalk, fell over, my finger bent sideways, and so now it doesn't bend at all, but it's straight. But whenever I'm walking down the street, I make sure I have my hand like a full hands, because if I make a fist, I'm flipping everybody off.
This is the highlight of Cheesecake's world.
That is a problem. That is a definition of like first world problems. Oh man. Wow. Well, hopefully Cheesecake doesn't show his hand on camera. He'll be flicking everybody off tonight. There we go. There's a screen grab for you guys right there. Let's get things started. You know how we do. We'll go into our rundown, starting out with our W.O.W.ed players of the week. And our first guy here, someone I keep wishing I bet on every night, and I still never pulled the trigger. Franchy Cordero of the New York Yankees, over his last 7 games, hitting 280, 333, 800. He's got 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 5 runs, 2 walks to 7 strikeouts over that time. He's homered in 4 of his last 5 games, and he's played 7 games so far for the Yankees. He's reached base in all of them. Now, Franchy Cordero is not somebody that's usually been somebody we've had on our rosters consistently. Is this, and anybody can answer this, is this him just playing in a better ballpark and it's playing to his strengths? Is this a new Franchy Cordero that we haven't seen before? Does anybody want to pick him up? I picked him up in a couple leagues just to try to ride the end of his hot streak if it's still there. Does anybody think this is actually legit?
No. You're at the end of the tail end of the hot streak, David. Franchy Cordero has struck out in all games but one. The strikeout percentage is 26, which is lower than his 34.5% for his career.
That's a big deal, Doc. That's cutting his K rate 8%.
Yeah, 8%, and it's still almost 26%. I think he's a good source for power. I think he's somebody that you're going to stream. He's having the benefit of hitting in the Yankees lineup right there. 4 out of his 5 runs have come from home runs. So he's not getting driven in for the most part if he's not driving himself in. I think he's a streamer.
All right, now he's got a 258 expected batting average, he's a 38.9 hard hit percentage, which is actually lower than what it's been over the last few seasons. But he still has an elite max exit velocity, and his exit velocity over 90 miles per hour is the highest it's been since 2020, and actually above the 88 mile per hour exit velocity average for all major leaguers here. There is a lot of interesting things to see when you look into his profile. He's hitting the ball hard, but he's also looking kind of also just at his spray charts too. He's someone that's just a heavy pull hitter too, a 55.6% pull hitter this year. Keep in mind the average for major leaguers is 36.8. He's really pulling all his home runs, and it's very interesting. I still, again, I take the stab on it. Especially outfielders are just falling like flies right now. But I don't think you can expect he's going to be like a James Outman for your team, if that's fair. Okay, let's go to the next one then. Let's talk about Jared Kelenic. Is he for real? We trashed him last week, and we said we've seen this story before, but over his last 7 games, he's hitting 458, 519 OBP, 958 slug. He's got 3 home runs, 5 RBIs on the season, only 5 strikeouts and 1 stolen base over his last 7 games. And he's hit a home run in 3 straight and 6 extra base hits over his last 6 after having only 1 in his first 5 games. Jared Kelenic says, hey, I'm here. What's the thing? Patrick Mahomes, I'm here. That's Jared Kelenic right now. He says he's arrived. Guys, are we buying Jared Kelenic? Because I'm very much confused about if we can actually buy this breakout or not. I still think he's someone, and I'm going to look this up in a second. I still think he's struggling against breaking balls, and that's been his big bugaboo. Obviously, Jared Kelenic's being picked up on your waiver wires. Do you trust him?
I was going to say, I picked him up today in a 10-team league because some of us do, David, play in 10-team leagues, if that's okay with you. But, dude, W.O.W.ed 98th percentile, XBA 95th percentile, X-Slug 99th percentile. The guy's hitting the cover off the ball, 3 homers, 2 stolen bases, 351 average, playing almost every day. You have to roll the dice on him at this point in any league.
He is, so to reconfirm, he's hitting 167 against breaking pitches, 429 against fastballs, and 500 against off speed. So he is still struggling with breaking balls. I'm really wondering at what point pitchers are going to start just throwing him heavy breaking balls again, because this is a problem. This is what he's shown he hasn't been able to do consistently at the big league level. And if people aren't going to do it, or I think people are going to start throwing him breaking balls heavily after a time, and we're going to see if he adjusts.
Can we just talk about how those 3 games were at the Cubs with the wind blowing out?
Well, that's what Vinny's putting in the chat. Vinny said, no, it's just good against the Cubs.
Yeah, it's like if somebody did this at Colorado, we wouldn't think twice about it.
I don't know. I mean, the numbers are good. It's just my concern, which has been his bugaboo, has been that, again, he can't hit breaking balls, and he still hasn't.
Well, I was just referring to his 3 home runs being at Chicago with the wind blowing.
And all 3 were off fastballs too. So
I was like, is he getting more patient and more selective at the plate, like only focusing on fastballs? Obviously, that in the long term, that's not going to cure his inability to hit curveballs. But if he's getting a better eye overall as a professional hitter, we should see an increase. In most of the stats.
59 percentile in walk rate doesn't obviously talk about. But overall, just eyes at the plate, just if we're talking about just his zone swing to zone percentages, zone swing right now 64%, zone contact 81.8%. Again, it doesn't really say if it's on breaking pitches versus fastballs. I have to look. I think Fangraphs might have something that can look in on that. But
we'll have the interns do it.
Yeah, that's something I have to dig in with. We have the interns check that out. But let's go to our next player here. Let's talk about Edouard Julien, who I just mentioned at the top of the show. Just hit his first major league home run. Did walk in his first game. Obviously, not a lot of stats right now, but 2 straight starts at second base, and he was leading off for the Minnesota Twins tonight. Like I'd said earlier, he has already homered, and I believe looking into the box score right now, he actually has 2 hits. He's 2 for 3 with 2 runs, a homer, and an RBI, hitting 400. And being the Twins fan on this show, he was the Luis Arraez replacement, which is why I think the Twins were okay moving on from him. He's an OBP machine. He had near a 450 OBP last year. This guy just gets on base consistently. He just takes and takes and takes. He's the prototypical leadoff hitter. And when we talk about, I think we overuse the Steven Kwan analogy where he's great contact. This guy's just got an amazing eye at the plate. I would love to see what his his Z contact and the swinging outside the zone numbers are going to be at the end of the season, because his eye is just unreal. So he's the reason that they let Luis Arraez go. He's going to be a great leadoff hitter, and in any points league, he's not going to strike out a lot either. And I was really annoyed that in our home league, I missed picking him up because I was late to get to the waiver wire. But he's going to be a points league stud.
You'll have to tell me off camera who picked him up.
Yeah,
Work's been busy.
Oh, did you pick him up?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was Prez. Prez picked him up.
Can we talk about how Pablo Lopez and for Luis Arraez is a deal that seems to work out for both teams great so far?
Yeah, Pablo's been looking
and
great.
David hated that trade when it happened.
I did, but he's been tinkering a lot, and he's throwing the sweeper, and he's got extra velocity right now on his fastball. So a lot of things that didn't show at the time of the trade. Vinny comps him to Ozzy Albies.
That's a really good comp.
David, I wanted to ask you for Julien. Are you afraid of playing time once Jorge Polanco comes back, because he's on a he's doing his rehab assignment now, and I know Julien has just struggled from a defensive standpoint. I don't know. There's not really any room DH because Buxton needs to live there so he doesn't break. What do you think?
So that's a very good question. And like you said, Edouard Julien right now his defense is awful. They put him at second base because that's like, you can't play defense and you're not hitting, 30 home runs. We're going to stick you at second. But the thing is here, Donovan Solano right now is playing first base for the Twins. So I could see them putting him at first and then having Polanco go to second. Right now, also, Kirilloff is on a rehab assignment. So Kirilloff could eventually go there too. It's one of those things, like, obviously maybe playing time's a little questionable, but all he needs is an injury, which with Buxton, it's very easy for that to happen. And again, if he continues to produce, Kirilloff, obviously, if he continues to produce, they're going to find a way to get him in the lineup too. Correa has not been a sign of health either. There's definitely so many different ways he could get in the lineup. So I'm not too concerned long-term with that. All right. Good question though. Next one, our last hitter we'll talk about. Actually, they got lost in the slides. So while I pull the last hitter up, let's talk about Taj Bradley, who our guy, Uncle Ted Talks put in the chat prior to the show. Pick up Taj Bradley ASAP. First start, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, and 8 strikeouts to 1 walk. Went heavy, fastball, and cutter. Those are his 2 best pitches. Struck out 7 Red Sox, I believe, in the first 3 innings. It was something ridiculous like that. He was just putting on a show. And him, Kyle Harrison, and Andrew Painter were my 3 favorite pitching prospects. And I think he gets buried a little bit with talking about some of the other big names, but Taj Bradley is for real. Had, I believe, 9 whiffs on his 78 pitches in his debut. Had a 35% CSW percentage, which was really, really good. 30% is about average. So I'm really excited for Taj Bradley. And we just saw, unfortunately, especially some people that bet on Jeffrey Springs today. Jeffrey Springs went down with an injury, left after 3 innings. So that opens up, again, another spot for him to continue to stay up with the Rays. If he's out there on your waiver wire in anything 12 or 15 teams, you got to pick him up immediately just for the upside he can give you.
It's a shame it took Jeffrey Springs getting hurt for them to hopefully bring him back.
Jeffrey Springs was going to win Cy Young the way he's pitching, honestly, right now. He's going to be the AL Cy Young.
It was really encouraging Bradley going 5 as well, because I was concerned that they might do like a 3 or 4 inning start for him. What was his pitch count in that 5? I'm sorry if you already said.
I think it was 78.
I will double check it. It was in the 70s. I want to say it was 78.
So that's pretty efficient. He was pretty efficient in his. So if they're going to probably try to build him up. But if he's at 80 now, 16 pitches per inning for 5 innings, that's pretty efficient. So he might be on like a pitch count like that. And that might be one of the only downsides I see, because I thought he was good. 78
pitches, 9 whiffs, 42 fastballs, and 23 cutters. So all but 13 of his pitches were fastball cutters. And he topped that at 98 miles per hour. So healthy velocity. I love the kid. He's going to be great. Let's talk about Bryce Elder. Musical chairs with the Atlanta Braves 5th starter, which is what it seems. We talked about Jared Schuster at times, and we've talked about, Ian Anderson, who's unfortunately getting Tommy John surgery. Mike Soroka's still out there. But Bryce Elder, last start, 6.1 innings, 6 hits, no runs allowed, 1 walk to 7 strikeouts. He's actually had 2 shutouts in a row. And shutouts being that he hasn't given up a run in his 13.1 innings over his last 2 starts, but did have 14 swinging strikes in his last start, with 7 coming from his slider. Cheesecake, are we buying into Bryce Elder? Because this 5th Atlanta starter is tricky. We know that the offense behind them is legit. We just need them to be somewhat consistent. Is that Bryce Elder's role here?
I mean, I ride him until the wheels fall off. for sure. I thought he was a good pickup because he has two starts this week, I think, and so I definitely was trying. I didn't get him anywhere. I was outbid on him for all over. But I thought that the starts lined up really nice for him to pitch well. I know Fried is hopefully coming back soon. Soroka, they keep saying he's coming back this season, but I don't know exactly when. So until that spot's open until I think Soroka is healthy. So and Dodd and Schuster did not look great. So it's his to keep.
Yeah, I think it really is. Bryce Elder, definitely worth the speculative ad. The last hitter we didn't get to, actually before that, back to Taj Bradley, our buddy Vinny comments and says that he thinks that Springs out watch for Luis Patino and Colby White to potentially take a spot in that rotation. Those could be two guys that might make next show if they get called up and produce in their first start. So keep an eye on Luis Patino and Colby White. And our buddy Albert checking in. Good evening to you, my friend. Thanks for hanging out on the stream with us.
The last thing I'll say about Bradley, it's the Rays. So you have no idea what they're going to do. They don't have any problem randomly sending somebody down. So just
they also have trouble staying healthy.
Yeah, I mean, Eflin and Jeffrey Springs, they haven't said anything about Jeffrey Springs yet, have they? Tyler Glass now. They haven't said anything about Springs and his what they think it could be. I saw forearm, and that's all I saw.
Oh, the medical term. This is most definitely an IL stint, but the medical term is left ulnar. Hold on 1 second.
While you're doing that, Cole Irvin.
Left ulnar neuritis.
Left ulnar neuritis doesn't sound good. Cole Irvin just got
inflammation in the ulnar nerve of his pitching arm, which can lead to numbness or tingling.
Doesn't sound good. Is anybody shocked that Cole Irvin was optioned just now?
Yes, I actually am.
After they brought him in, I mean, Cole Irvin is Cole Irvin. What did they think?
I thought he could have been a fifth starter for the Orioles.
Kyle Gibson's going to be Kyle Gibson too. It's just he's taking a little bit longer. But
yeah, but how many pitchers do those have? Not a lot.
They need pitching to come through. Right now, DL Hall hasn't been pitching for them. They need him to be an actual starter for them. Grayson Rodriguez has been shaky. The Orioles offense is so good. I just wish they had some pitching. Let's talk about the Astros. Let's talk about Chas McCormick. Last 7 games, hitting 300, a 344 OBP, 600 slug, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, 6 runs, 2 walks to 11 strikeouts, and a steal. He's had 5 hits over his last 18 at-bats, and he's batted leadoff in 4 straight games for this Houston Astros lineup that has a ton of great bats, which is very useful if you're, again, runs, good counting stats, 6 runs. That's a lot in a week. So I'm going to ask you to open, is Chas McCormick somebody that you would pick up? Obviously outfield eligible here. I think he's someone you have to pick up, especially of all the ones we've talked about here. He's someone I feel really safe at the top of this Astros lineup. I think he is what he is. I don't think he's not going to be somebody that's going to win you a week, but he's somebody that you can plug in as your 5th outfielder and not look back.
Yeah, every 5 outfielder league, I think he's a must add.
Yeah.
I'm torn because he thinks I'm funny, but won't acknowledge me on Twitter for making him laugh.
Who? Chas McCormick?
Chas McCormick.
When did this happen?
When I brought my hey Alex Bregman, I'm Jewish, happy early Rosh Hashanah, and I held it up and he laughed. And then I tweeted him and said, hey, I'm the guy that held this sign. Will you come on our podcast? And he ignored me. And he has like 5,000 followers. So he saw it.
Are you sure he's active on Twitter?
Yeah, it was right after he tweeted.
You never know if he saw it.
Should I pick him up or no?
Yes, you should pick him up. Ignore your bias, your negative bias about him, and pick him up. Our buddy Brian checking in. Brian K. Rajman, what's up, Brian? Thanks for hanging out with us. So that's all the hitters. There's a couple other pitchers I wanted to get to before we come out. The guy that I think I want to spend the most time talking about here is Kris Bubic. Last year, we referred to him as Kris Pubic Hair because he was dreadful last year. But his last start, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs allowed, 1 walk to 8 strikeouts. He had 19 whiffs on just 76 pitches in his last start and a 1.64 ERA in 2 starts. He looks like he's a legit new pitcher. And I want to bring up something. So hopefully I can pull it up in the next 10 seconds here really quickly. But Kris Bubic, and his name's been getting flown around here. Credit Lance Brozdowski, who formerly did some work with Driveline Baseball, and he's been putting out like these like notes on Twitter. And I know CBS also gave him credit for putting this out as well. But he's got a lower release height and improved velocity, and all of his stuff is basically playing up. So the fact that he's coming lower, everything's kind of coming more up to the strike zone. Vertical approach angle, basically his fastball is taking a different path to the plate. And it seems like that just everything is now coming together with the way that he's coming to the plate in a different way now. There's a lot more detailed breakdown on Lance's Twitter profile that you can check out. So I'll make sure I plug that. But basically there's between arm angles, between release points, he's basically pinpointing everything that's very different about how he's approaching things here. And the numbers through 2 starts definitely look very legit. Now he is playing the Atlanta Braves, I believe, on Saturday. So that will be a huge test to see if this, I think if he has a good start there, he's even a must add in even 10-team leagues at that point. But 12-team leagues, 15-team leagues, he's a must add. Were you guys, when you saw this start, were you speculating or putting waiver claims on him or trying to add him in any waiver wire leagues? Was he somebody you were actively trying to get?
As of right now, no.
I was driving and I was at a red light. And once I got to the red light, I quickly pulled up my phone to check if Kris Bubic was a free agent in all my leagues, and I picked him up in 3 of them. I do think this is legit for Kris Bubic. I mean, again, take Lance's work. Obviously, that very detailed description of things has me excited, but he just looks the part too. Like the fact that he had that many whiffs, 19 whiffs on 76 pitches, 19 whiffs in a 100-pitch start is really good. 19 and 76 pitches, that's insane.
What I'm most impressed with is last year his walk rate was 10.7. Now it's 2.3. Which is not, you can't maintain that. So I expect there's some regression there, but his K rate's up to 30.2, which is, I mean, last year was 18.7. So yeah, everything points to like he's doing something completely different. You look at his arsenal, he's actually decreased his 4-seam usage, which across the league, 4-seamers are up. More and more pitchers are throwing their 4-seam at a career high, but he's actually put his down a little bit, and he's increased his curveball. So yeah, it's been pretty wild. But I don't have him anywhere, so I can't claim him.
I also worry about him getting wins on the Royals offense.
That makes sense.
But again, if you're picking guys off the waiver wire at this point, wins are not your priority. You're chasing guys.
You're talking about in fab leagues. Are you prepared to spend a lot on somebody that, if you play in a categories league, might not suffice?
Yeah, but wins are such a hard category to chase because you're picking pitchers on teams that are good. And a lot of the pitchers that are actually good on good teams are already rostered. So you have to take a shot on guys that have good stuff that could help you in ERA and strikeouts and whip. Because again, like who are you going to find in the free agent pool that's going to get you a lot of wins? Because they're probably already rostered.
I mean, that's a fair point. I just wouldn't spend a crazy amount. I'm not as high on him as you are.
And again, I'm not saying Kris Bubic is going to be the pickup of the year. I just think in 2 starts, when you see something that different, I mean, take Nick Lodolo, for example, right? Like he was somebody that a lot of people Marty and I talked about in the offseason. Other people talked about him. He's a legit new pitcher this year. And if you didn't know who he was picked off the waiver wire quick. And you can see tangible changes in what he's doing. This is, I think, one of those guys that kind of fell through the cracks, and he's kind of doing that same thing. When you see these types of changes in somebody's numbers, it's not like, hey, this is completely fluke. Like, his BABIP is insanely high, and, he's not getting a lot of whiffs. He's due for this is a completely new guy. That's why I think it's interesting to see what he can do. Give him even if he doesn't do great against Atlanta, let's see how he does his next 3 starts and come back and take a look at him. The last player we'll talk about, Drey Jameson. Last start, 4 innings, scoreless, 4 strikeouts, recently moved into the rotation and threw 54 pitches in his first start. Had been kind of like a bulk reliever in the bullpen, throwing 2-3 innings. For the D-backs, was one of their best bullpen arms. Now he's getting bumped into the rotation with the injury to Zach Davies. I didn't pick him up in a couple leagues because of points leagues, because I didn't want to waste my start limit on a guy going 3-4 innings to start. But I did pick him up in TGFBI, and I picked him up in another league as well. I can't remember what other league it was, but because I think the strikeouts and the ratios will be there for him, and he showed that last season. Drey Jameson, if you see him on your waiver wire, is he somebody that you are trying to pick up? LC, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I actually dropped him first waiver period of the season because he wasn't in the rotation, and I wasn't sure if he was going to get in. So there's a little bit of egg on my face for that. It didn't take long for him to get his chance. Yeah, I forgot about Drey. But I liked him coming into the draft season. I don't think it's going to take too long. They were testing him out as a starter in the spring. So I mean, I should imagine he should be stretched out a little bit sooner than we would expect.
Yeah. Drey Jameson, unless like you're in leagues like I was preferring if there's start limits to where you won't get the full workload to start. He's somebody that I think is a very valuable piece to add. And the Diamondbacks need starters too. Right now, not looking good on that front. So
a little preview ahead. He does have a 2-start week next week, so he might be able to get you those 7-8 innings. And we'll go over it later. But the matchups are pretty tough.
All right, I'm anxious to see where he's ranked in your 2 starters. As well, at least something to talk about.
My favorite segment.
Our most added players over the last week, courtesy of CBS Thursday Morning. Bryce Elder taking the top spot, added in 71% of leagues. Brian Anderson, 54% of leagues. Miles Straw, Anthony Disclafani, Orlando Arcia, who another player that I picked up recently that's now hit the IL. So he will be out. There's actually like a microfracture in his wrist, so I don't think he's coming back anytime soon. Kris Bubic, Kyle Freeland, and Tyler McGill. Most drop players, we're looking at Jared Schuster, Derek Hall, Austin Meadows, Brusdar Graterol, Clark Schmidt, Carlos Carrasco, Spencer Turnbull, and Ross Stripling. Carlos Carrasco looks like a complete shell of himself. I can't even imagine rostering him in any league at this point. Carlos Carrasco and Spencer Turnbull, Marty. I wanted him to come back. I wanted him to be a good pitcher. He just looks awful right now too.
He's only had 3 good months in his entire career, and then he immediately had Tommy John surgery. So coming off Tommy John on arguably the worst team in baseball, just let him go.
You say this, but as of now, he's only given up 1 earned in 4 innings versus the Blue Jays.
He could be due.
He's turned it around, folks.
I watched before the end of the show. I'll give up 3 home runs. Brian says Vaughn Grissom coming back up. That's a good pickup if you guys are looking to fill a middle infield spot, especially for the Braves. Unless you have weekly pickup limits, which some of us get stuck with and can't pick up any more players. Then
it's a shame when all those people use them right away.
I would say, wait, David, tell the listeners, are you one of the guys who have uses all 5 ad drops by Wednesday and stresses the rest of the week?
Well, we have 7 in our home league,
7,
and
right?
I had to use them all because Corey Seager went on the IL, so I had to add a player. I picked up Gavin Stone, or I'm sorry, not Gavin Stone. The Nationals outfielder,
Stone Garrett.
I mixed up. I picked up Stone Garrett. Literally after he hits the home run and like 4 RBIs, has not played since then. He literally had 4 straight games where he wasn't playing. And I said, I can't even have him on my roster.
Interesting.
So I had to use one on him. Then I had to use another one, picking up Kris Bubic. Then I used.
He had to. Kris
Bubic is out there. Why would I not pick him up? That's like literally a crime to leave him on the waiver wire. I won't go through all 7, but I'd say 5 of the 7 were legit because of injuries. Like my whole team is freaking toasted right now.
I just wish I could pull.
Andres Munoz went to the IL, so I had to pick up another relief pitcher to replace Andres Munoz. So that was another IL transaction I had to make.
I just want to pull up the clip a couple of years ago, and I don't know if there's a clip out there, but David venting to me about how people in our league would just do unlimited transactions and it wasn't fair.
Yeah, but again, 5 of my 7 were legit because of IL stuff.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
I hope your team gets hit with IL so that you can go through the
It
same
already
thing.
did with Justin Verlander. It's all downhill since.
I literally have, I don't ever carry a catcher. Like catchers are a waste in that league, but I don't have a second baseman because I had to drop Orlando Arcia and I can't pick up somebody else. So like I have no second baseman. And then my last outfielder is Lars Nootbaar, who's still on the IL because I legit can't pick because I have like 5 players on the IL that I can't drop.
In the
So
time codes, I'm going to
too.
put David. I'm going to put David complains about his home league team.
I was feeling it, man. If I lose this week, I'll be actually annoyed.
I will say this though, with pickup strategy, because a lot of when you tweeted David earlier this week, what are listeners looking for, and a lot of focused on strategy. So when I have, let's say, 5 ad drops, especially early in the league, I keep that last one no matter what over till Saturday and Sunday because something crazy happens. And over the years, so many times I've used all my ad drops and I couldn't pick up that guy who was just called up or someone gets hurt on Saturday night or whatever it is. So boys and girls, keep one. Don't be like David. Keep one ad drop always ready.
That is a very good tip, Marty. I held it for 2 days and I just couldn't use it anymore. But that is a very good tip. Save it until Sunday.
You used 6 in the first 2.
I had to, man. I had to. But that is a good tip, especially if like a pitcher gets scratched and you need to find a spot starter. Like that would be good to save for Sunday. So take Marty's advice there. The last thing, and then you guys will stop hearing my voice for a little bit. The team schedules for next week. The thing to note if you're listening on the podcast feed and you can't see the screen, the Orioles and Nationals both play 5 games next week. So if you have any Orioles or Nationals, they will be playing 1 or 2 less games than every other team. All the other teams play 6 or 7. But now let's go and let's head over, take our trip to the doctor's office.
No, we're doing panic at the front office first.
Panic at the front office. Okay.
So we're going to rotate my segments. And last week we did best bets, but this week, and if you're looking at the graphic, it's Panic at the Disco with Alek Manoah's face on it. So we're going to talk about some hitters and pitchers 2 weeks in. And on a 1 to 10 scale, I want to know how much are you panicking about them. So the first is going to be Mr. Alek Manoah. So looking into his stats to begin the season, he's 1-0, but he has a 4.91 ERA and a 1.7 WHIP. And he faced the Tigers 1 out of his 2 outings and walked 5. Now, I know a lot of people in the industry painted Alek Manoah to have some regression this year. I don't think any of us expected this bad. So, David, I'm going to start with you on a 1 to 10 scale. How panicked are you about Alek Manoah?
Can't be too panicked about a player you don't roster, right? But, I mean, honestly, to give the the actual answer, I would say I'm about a 5. And the reason being, like you mentioned, we kind of saw the regression that was going to happen before the season even started. We saw the fact that, whether it was the velocity decreases, we saw that, the batted ball luck, there was a lot of things that we could see in his profile had the regression coming. Now, is he a serviceable pitcher? For sure. He's not like a streamer. He's a serviceable number 3 or 4 starter for your team. If you're expecting, what was he, 3rd in the American League Cy Young last year behind Dylan Cease and or just overall Cy Young. It was, the American League Cy Young. It was Cease. I can't remember who won it last year for the American League.
Verlander.
Thank you. Verlander, Cease, and I think he was number 3. If you're expecting that Alek Manoah, no, he's not that guy. Temper your expectations. Mark him in as your 4 starter, that 3 or 4 starter that's going to have some decent games and then some games that are not so great. I would definitely just temper your expectations for him.
Okay. Marty.
His right now his StatCast page is as blue as the Blue Jays jersey. So that's rough to see. Steamer projection. Shout out to Steamer. They've been saying for years he's going to be terrible, and maybe they're finally right. But no, I mean, yeah, everything looks pretty bad now. He's not a 4-point. He's not a 5 ERA guy, but he is closer, I think, to a 4 ERA guy. And I love me some Alek Manoah, but I think he'll finish somewhere around 3.8 ERA, and the strikeouts will be somewhere around his innings pitched. But he'll decrease his. He's not walking. I mean, right now he's walking. What is this? his walk percentage is equal to his K percentage. They're both 15.9. So that's not going to last. There's no way. Or he won't be a professional pitcher too much longer. So I'm worried if he's your ace, but if you did things correctly and he's like your third pitcher, like David said, you'll be okay.
Okay. Art?
I think I'm at a 4. He had one really good start, and his last start he was pitching well until like I think the 4th or 5th inning where he gave up those runs. You took him where you took him. Like if you took him, you were taking him in the 60s or 70s because you believed in him, and I believed in him. A few months ago we were all loving the Bulldog. He's got that dog in him, Alek Manoah, and if he's not injured and the walks, that could be a sign that he's not 100%. You never know. He's not injured. I trust he's going to figure it out to be successful this year.
Okay.
I didn't give a number. My number will be 3, no, I'll say 4 because his xERA is 7.98 right now. So I'm going to give him a 4.
Okay. That's fair. I'm kind of with you guys on there.
Before you get to your next one, Brian says, question your earliest convenience in a homely 12-team roto mixer with Pod Horzer and your beast Torres takes. Oh, we got to help because Torres in this league. Lost Duval. Do you guys prefer De La Cruz, Kerry Carpenter, Corey Julks, Joe Waddell, or physical challenge?
Physical challenges.
Is that a joke for a player that I'm trying to think of? I have to enlighten us on who that is.
The physical challenge, that was from Double Dare show.
Dare.
Do you remember the Double Dare show?
I don't remember Double Dare.
What about Double Dare 2000?
Oh,
like on Nickelodeon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I actually do know that.
On Nickelodeon, yeah.
So who's Double Dare? Who's someone like 2Ds? If we figure this out, we're very creative, or we're very smart.
David DeJesus.
That's a throwback.
I would have said
That's
David
true.
Dombrowski,
There
but
you
that's
go.
not the same thing. But to answer his question, Kerry Carpenter,
Dalton Del Don.
he has an XWOBA in the 93rd percentile. Kerry Carpenter's barrel percentage is in the 99th percentile. So he's striking out a ton, but he's walking at a good clip. He's making, he has good power. And the Tigers have no reason not to play him.
I like De La Cruz personally, but he was also someone I was really in on in the offseason. Marlins, the Marlins need hitting. He hits the ball as hard as anybody on that team. They also, I think if I'm not mistaken, they can move him around multiple outfield positions. I don't think he plays just left, but De La Cruz definitely be the one I like the most from this.
I'm going with Corey Julks. Plays on the best offense out of all of them. Just had his first homer of the season yesterday, batting .294. That Astros lineup is old. Like if Jose Abreu or Bregman need a maintenance day off, he's one injury away from being an everyday player if he's not already.
Art, are you going to pick Joe Adell and not give any hope at all?
I'm not picking Joe Adell. I feel bad for Kerry Carpenter's home run getting robbed by Kevin Kiermaier the other night. That was a heck of a catch by Kiermaier. I like Kerry Carpenter, but I think I would lean slightly towards De La Cruz in this.
Okay, so De La Cruz is going to be the triple play vote here for that, but all decent options there. Go ahead, Eric. Who's the next panic at the front office?
Panic at the front office. Staying with the pitchers here. Logan Webb, who had 12 strikeouts his first outing, a career high, a tough loss against the Yankees. But he's lost his next 2 outings. He's 0-3 on the season, a 6.35 ERA with a 1.29 whip. Now, David, you weren't in on Mr. Spider-Man before the season. I'm going to start with you again. Panic level 1 through 10. What are you giving him?
A 4. I don't think he's a 4.76 ERA pitcher. Has 22 strikeouts in 17 innings. His expected ERA is about 4.03. So I don't think he is 4.76 ERA bad. And I think if I have to look at his matchups, but I'm pretty sure he's played tough teams in at least 2 of them. So you look at things like barrel percentage is 11.1%. I don't see that staying that way. His entire career has been in the 5s. To have it jump more than twice that much is insane. Barrels per plate appearance is up at 7.1. Again, half of that. It just seems like he's just hitting a string of bad luck right now, and his numbers should settle down. The strikeouts hopefully will stay where they're at because his K rate this year is at 31.4%, which is really, really good. Especially last year was only 20.7%. So I'm about a 4 with him. I do think that if you could buy low, he's a 100% perfect buy low candidate that you shouldn't have to give too much for.
Marty?
0.00%. To David's point, played the Yankees, played the White Sox, played the Dodgers. He's striking out everybody. He's not walking people. 2 things he can control. Just hit a little string of bad luck. He'll be okay.
All right. And Cheesecake.
He's given up a lot of home runs.
Don't agree with them.
At least. Yeah, I think I'm going to go a little bit higher, but I do like the K's. But the home runs, that's going to be tough this year if you're bad on the home runs. There's a lot more flying out this year. So I'll go 5.
Okay. A little bit of mix from there. And then the last one, and dude, I got to stick with you. It's your Man Crush Monday, Bobby Witt Jr. Now he does have multi-hit at games in his last 2. Went 3 for 5 yesterday, 2 for 5 the game before that. But that brings his average up to the season for 229, his 2 homers and 6 RBIs. But I bring it up because the Royals are struggling offensively. Nobody on that team is particularly hitting for very well average. I think everybody is below 250. And you spent an early round pick on Bobby Witt if you played in a Roto league. So on a 0 to 10 scale, how panicked are you about Bobby Witt?
1. If I read you the line that somebody in the first 52 plate appearances has given you 2 home runs, 6 runs, 6 RBIs, and 5 steals. For everything else, how would you feel?
I'd feel okay, but not if I took a late first rounder on him.
But again, this is him at his worst, arguably. The fact that he has 5 stolen bases, 6 runs, and 6 RBIs on an offense that's been dreadful. He's also given you, again, 2 home runs. The exit velocity is still really good. Walk rate's actually up from last year. Strikeout rate is down 17.3% so far this season. Launch angle's up, so he is getting the ball up in the air a little bit more. So again, he's hitting the ball hard. He seems like he's a better eye at the plate. 229 batting average right now, but a 248 expected batting average. We already knew going in, Bobby Witt is not a 300 hitter. Bobby Witt is probably like a 240 to 260 hitter, but he's going to give you 20 plus home runs and he's going to give you 30 plus steals. And that is, I think, pretty much what his floor is. So again, I still think he's worth an end of the first round pick, and the batting average will go up some, but he's still going to give you a ton of steals and he's going to give you home runs. Don't count for RBIs too much because he hits at the top of the order, but he will give you runs, home runs, stolen bases, and a acceptable-ish batting average.
Okay. Marty, are you sharing that same sentiment?
I give him a 3 or 4 because where you drafted him, you need him to be top notch, especially in a 15-team league. He has adjusted his launch angle. It was 16.8. Now it's up to 20.9. So I think there's a little bit of an adjustment period just in that and changing the swing a little bit. XBA is still 248 though. So he'll come around. It's okay. It's in 6 months we'll still be in this season. So I think he's going to be fine.
Okay. Cheesecake.
The one thing I know about him is he's the Patrick Mahomes of baseball. So if anybody can lead the Royals to a Super Bowl, it's Bobby Witt. But my level of concern in his baseball skills are pretty low. I'm at a 1 or 2. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and doing this, it's obviously everybody has different panic levels from 0 to 4 or 5, like we've talked about, and. If you find someone that might be on the higher end of your league, this could be a good buy low opportunity. So, gauge what's out there. Obviously, It's a long season, but not everybody feels that way. So,
yeah, I see Bobby Witt sprint speeds in the 100th percentile. I would like to see him versus Corbin Carroll in like a 40-yard dash.
Those are the 2 people I picked to lead the league in stolen bases this year.
Esther Ruiz, throw him in that conversation.
I wish they would do some cool stuff like that.
And that's our Panic at the Front office for this week.
I was hoping you'd karaoke some Panic at the Disco to end it out, but it's okay.
All right, let's talk about now. But before I almost forgot one of our favorite segments just because I didn't see the Bring Out Your Dead cover slide. But it is Bring Out Your Dead. And we had a lot of submissions this week, Cheesecake, people that were hurting from their fantasy teams.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to start feeling the hurt second week in. A lot of suggestions. Everybody who's listening, you can find me on Twitter at ArtTPF. And if you send me a DM or you watch for my tweet on Wednesdays for Bring Out Your Dead submissions, keep an eye out for it. I usually put it out Wednesdays or Thursday mornings. So keep an eye out for it. I'm looking. We got a lot of people are hurt. Doc, I want to start with you, who suggested Tyler O'Neill. How you feeling after last week's blow up? How you feeling now?
Yeah, I dropped him, then homered in his first at bat at Coors. I thought this would be the year I'd give him a try, but no.
Yeah, he's still in the doghouse there in St. Louis. Worthy submission to Bring Out Your Dead, because he was a big investment. Britain, buddy, brought up Anthony Santander, who's having a tough start. He's been out the last 2 days with a back injury. They say he's available to hit off the bench, but he's the power you were hoping for. He's not, and of course he might be injured right now. Last 2 days off with a back injury. Ryan at Still Ryan talked about Aldro Kirk. He dropped him already in his league, which I thought was a very interesting early call. Especially struggling as much as he had, 1 for 22 this season. So they're starting to reduce his time for Kirk. But Ryan said he dropped him already. I wanted to know how deep his league was. Ryan, if you can let me know how deep that league is, where you felt comfortable dropping Alejandro. I understand the frustration, though, for sure. Wake up at Wake Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 suggested Gabriel Moreno for Bring Out Your Dead. Moreno, no home runs plus RBIs to start the season. What a tough go, but you can see that his XBA is 304 and is hitting his hard hit percentage 48. So hopefully good times are coming. Counting stats and the power numbers are really disappointing. I am feeling that hurt on my teams because I thought he was a nice pickup. Our buddy Nick at Nick's MLB Triple Play Zone. Nick, Cole Irvin, who just got assigned. I picked him up to stream this week because I thought Oakland was a nice start, and I feel like J Dub brought up Max Fried. Good news about Max Fried. He probably have start. He's been throwing off a mound for a few days. He's going taking fielding drills, and so your fingers. Max might be week or two. That would be nice. Sully from the DARF, my very own dog. Sully brought up Chris Sale. Marty, week next week. I don't want to prove that. He's rough.
LC, we're losing you. We are losing you,
tough
LC.
Starts like he doesn't. Marty slots him. Can you guys?
You're a little pixely.
And Dylan Gonderman. Okay, can you guys hear?
You're a little pixely.
Dylan Gonderman tell us he's the last one to talk about here, and Rowdy 5 for 34 on the season. Very hard to roster that with all you were expecting from him. So very tough. I come by with the death cart. We threw them all on. Let's take them out to the pits.
All right. That's Bring Out Your Dead for this week. A lot of submissions, a lot of people causing some pain early on for your fantasy teams. Before we get to the doctor's office, I want to get to Marty Party, and I want to get to Doc's favorite segment because we are getting closer to that hour mark, and I want to give Doc some joy. So Marty Party, why don't you go ahead and take us through your 2 start pitchers?
All righty. Let me pull up that little. Can you pull up that slide for me, David? The no doubters. I'm going to start there, as we often do. There. Hi, Gwen. Hope you're doing well today. It's nice to see you. So, this is for let's do the April 17th through the 23rd. So these are the 2 start pitchers coming up here. The no doubters, it's a lot smaller than last week. Last week there was like 15 no doubters. That was nice and easy. For this week, or for next week, Shohei Ohtani at Boston versus the Royals. Jacob deGrom at Kansas City versus Oakland. Nick Lodolo, yes, for the first time, he is a no-doubt pitcher. He has made his way into it. 21 strikeouts in 12 innings. Tampa, best team in baseball right now, but not against lefties, so that's good to know. And at Pittsburgh should be a cupcake matchup there. Zach Wheeler, I still believe in a thing called love at the White Sox versus Colorado. His walk percentage is up 10% from 5.6 last year, but all of the underlying metrics look promising. 2.96 ERA. So Zach Wheeler is still a no doubter for me. Going on next to these are your should starts. A little bit longer here. So Clayton Kershaw versus the Mets at Chicago. Dominant Kershaw has not shown up yet. The strikeout percentage is down, and both teams are above average versus lefties, but he still should start. He's doing pretty well, but he's just not there as a must start right now. Christian Javier versus Toronto at the Braves. Dustin May versus the Mets at Chicago Cubs. Jesus Luzardo versus San Francisco at the Cleveland Guardians. Hunter Green versus the Rays at Pittsburgh. Sonny Gray at Boston versus Washington. And Kevin Gausman usually is a must start for me, but at Houston, at New York. That's pretty tough there. So those are the should starts.
Marty,
Doc, I'm going to check in with you.
Jesus Luzardo, 2-0, 1.93 ERA, 1.13 win.
He's in the should starts. I don't have any problem with his.
I kind of think that's a no doubter, but you know what? I'm nitpicking a little bit right now. I'm chopping at the bit.
I know you are. There's still 2 more.
The Giants are one of the worst teams versus lefties, so I don't have a problem there. The Guardians don't strike out, so that's something that kind of, put me back a little bit. But like Dustin May, they're both throwing their fastball more so than ever. It's a career high, and it's really helping there. And he's decreased the soft stuff. So how about this? He has another solid week like this. We might be able to boost them up to the musties next time around.
The musties, like the Swifties, the musties.
I'll tell his agent that.
There we go. All right, risky business. Tom Cruise sliding across your living room, creeping everybody out as he always does. And it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to start with this guy. I love me some Lance Lynn, but damn it, he looks brutal so far this year. And next week, Lynn goes against the Phillies. Then he's at Tampa. 2 tough matchups. His walks are through the roof. Dude, they are barreling the crap out of the ball against him. 11.4 barrel percentage. So the good news is he has a career high strikeout rate right now at 28.8, but everything else is pretty tough. Chris Sale, absolutely brutal. I only on reputation alone, I didn't put him as a must sit. Versus the Angels at Milwaukee. The strikeouts are there, but if you're in a 15-team league, I would roll the dice, but not in a 10 or 12 right now. Merrill Kelly, good old safe sex Merrill Kelly, at the Cardinals versus San Diego. He has a 7.01 xERA, which is compared to his 2.94 ERA. So that's why he's a little risky business. And he finally has worked his way up to 6 innings. He was a little bit behind in the World Baseball Classic. If you guys remember, he never pitched more than 4 innings, even in that championship game. They had to take him out early. So he's building his way back up. He's a little risky there. Taj Bradley at Cincy versus the White Sox. And this is actually a shout out to him. I rarely will put like a should start or a must start for a pitcher. Most of the time a rookie pitcher will be in the take a seat category, but we've already went kind of what he did for his MLB debut. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk in the moneymaker, 8 Ks. So we already talked about the pitch count. But if he has two matchups, I like that. And Marcus Stroman at Oakland versus the Dodgers. He's walking on thin ice. He's walking 11% of batters faced. So he has a 1.00 ERA right now. That is not happening. So the regression is coming. But I love versus Oakland and the Dodgers. I mean, that's going to be that's what makes it risky there. Doc?
I just think it was funny with Taj Bradley that you said I rarely put rookies in no doubts or should starts. They're usually in take a seats. And you didn't identify the segment that he's actually in.
No, I didn't talk about it. This is the risky business segment. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a shout out to him that he's already up.
I actually think Merrill Kelly should be in the take a seat.
I can't have a problem with that. He has a 7.01 xERA.
But Marty, there hasn't been that one that, it was kind of Bryce Elder a little bit last week, but there hasn't been that one that I just strongly disagree with.
Well, we have a lot of take a seat. So, take a seat and listen to these. I'm going to go down here quickly.
Kyle Freeland has been good. That's kind of interesting.
Get to it.
Sorry, I'm anxious.
Literally, Kyle Freeland versus Pittsburgh at Philly. Here are my notes. He's been great so far, but he's Kyle Freeland, and he plays at Coors. He takes on the Phillies. I think in a 15-team league, if you have to, that's perfectly fine. 10, 12-team leagues, I would stay away.
Kyle Freeland.
Jack Flaherty, the luckiest guy in baseball right now. He's not striking out anybody. He has a 21.5 walk percentage, which is absolutely insane. I can't back him. I can't back starting him. Versus Arizona at the Mariners. Alex Wood at Miami versus the Mets. Corey Kluber versus Minnesota at the Brewers. Tyler McGill at the Dodgers at the Giants. Hayden Wesneski, your boy Art, my boy as well. He's got to take a seat at Oakland versus the Dodgers. His last time out, he went 1.1 innings and he got pulled. So his whip's 2.83 over 6 innings. So you can't start him. Dr. Drey Jameson, first start of the year, he only went 4 innings. That's the only reason why I'm having him take a seat. And then the fact he's playing at the Cardinals versus San Diego, tough matchups, but we'll all be watching that one closely. David Peterson at the Dodgers at the Giants. Eduardo Rodriguez versus Cleveland at Baltimore. Clark Schmidt versus the Angels versus Blue Jays. Bailey Falter at the White Sox versus Colorado. Hunter Gaddis at Detroit versus Miami. Ken Waldichuk versus the Cubs at the Rangers. Kris, no flexing zone. Milwaukee, St. Louis. Kris, I think Flexen gave up 9 earned runs his last time out. So yeah, just never play him ever again. Jordan Lyles versus Texas at the Angels. Griffin Canning at the Yankees versus Kansas City. Dick Mountain at Colorado versus Cincinnati. Ryan Weathers versus the Braves. Who's that after that?
Jansen Junk.
Let's see. Ryan Weathers.
Jansen Junk.
Say what?
Jansen Junk is the next one.
Jansen Junk at Seattle versus Boston. Vince Velasquez at Colorado versus Cincinnati. Jose Urena versus Pittsburgh at Philly. And lastly, Alex Corn on the Cob at Miami versus the Mets. Those are your take a seats. And Doc, I open the floor to you. What do we got?
I mean, half that list is Jansen Junk right there. I don't know if Kyle Freeland should be in the take a seat. I think that's risky business.
Yeah, I agree. He's earned at least to be bumped up a take. Like he's gotten a chance to sit at the cool kids table for even a little bit. You got to give him his flowers.
Well, and he really did well in the World Baseball Classic as well. So he's building off that. But we've seen that before. I mean, he's been one of the ERA leaders, and then the next year he's one of the worst pitchers in baseball. So we'll see.
Yeah, but we're basing it off this year, Martin. And this year.
All right, Doc. Take
Freeland some love.
Take us through the players you're taking into the doctor's office.
All right. Well, going through my pitchers last week, as I look at my card here, 3-0 with my recommendations. All got the win. 4.47 ERA below my.
Those are huge glasses. Where did you get those?
They are fashion glasses.
Please do not tell me you wear those out in public.
Absolutely not. And they are not fashion glasses. They're ones we got at the expo. 1.31 whip with 11 Ks in 16.1 innings. That's good. Starting with this week, Golden Graham Ashcraft, owned in 28.4% of ESPN leagues, 13 Ks in the 13 innings he's thrown in 2 starts, went 6 and 7. Phillies are 1-5 on the road with 18 runs scored. They are soon to be 1-6 when they lose in Cincinnati tonight. 2 of his pitches, the cutter with a 136 BA, slider with 150 batting average against, and his fastball in the 91st percentile at 97 miles per hour. Golden Graham Ashcraft, fire him up. Now, I can't believe Hunter Brown is only owned in 33.1% of ESPN leagues. But that just shows ESPN for some reason. Maybe these are some 8 or 10 team leagues that you need to stream. But he has at least 5 Ks in both outings, and right now the Rangers are striking out 26% of the time. First right-handed pitchers, 200 batting average, or opponent's batting average, a 1.11 whip. He's not given up many walks, 0 home runs so far in the year. The Rangers are 1-2, small sample size, but they did just lose Corey Seager. And the first game without him, they only scored 1 run versus the Royals. And the last one we talked about him, Bryce Elder, owned in 30.8% of ESPN leagues, faces the Royals this weekend, who've scored 44 runs, which is third lowest in the major leagues. 13-4 K to walk in 2 starts, which is a big improvement from the 3.83 walks per 9 we saw last season. And the one thing, Bryce Elder did play and then got demoted last year. You have to think about the pitcher psyche. He's sticking in the rotation with all the injuries. So feel like he can pitch a little bit more relaxed. But let's go another 3-0. David, let's sweep. Let's bring out the brooms. Let's go plus units.
All right, I like it. Marty, your last segment, Marty's Party, to tell the people who is invited to your extravaganza.
Alrighty, and this time we're going to pick two of these players are going to be invited to the party. You know, one of my best friends, he had to drop out. His mom and dad came home early from vacation, and he's not allowed to play. So we have 2 spots open here for Marty's Party. These are going to be weekend hitting streamers for this weekend coming up here, which is for you guys listening in your cars or in your iPod, on your iPhone. That is April 14th through the 16th. So starting with Austin Hayes, 3 games at the White Sox. He is 42% rostered on Yahoo. Over 50 plate appearances. He has 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and he's slashing 340, 380, and a 638. He's in the 97th percentile in xSlug, the 94th percentile in barrel percentage, and in the 92nd percentile in xWOBA. He's crushing the ball. The White Sox have a team ERA of 5.79, and he's either leading off or batting 5th. So he should be good for plenty of a struggling team. Number 2 is Jarred Kelenic. We've already gone over him enough. 3 games versus Colorado. He's still only 65% rostered, and Colorado's team ERA is 5.26. And then number 3, Jake Fraley, 3 games at home, so in the Great American Small Park, 30% rostered. He's batting .333 with a home run and 2 stolen bases. Sneaky little bit of speed there, and he's batting every day 3rd in the lineup. So Austin Hayes, 3 games at the White Sox. Jarred Kelenic, 3 games versus Colorado. Jake Fraley, 3 games at home, which is in Cincinnati. I'm going to start with you, Doc. 2 of the 3. Who are you taking?
I'm thinking about what you said preseason when Art said he liked Jake Fraley, and you said he can't hit lefties. So you would be a hypocrite if you invited him to the party.
I would. You know what? Do me a favor. I want you to, because you're good at this, I want you to find that clip and please send it to me at your earliest convenience.
Okay.
Can he? I don't know if he can. Okay. So no to Fraley. David, who you got? Who's not invited?
I'm not taking Fraley. Austin Hayes hit 5th today for the Orioles, so they took him out. I mean, they're putting him in good spots. He was hitting leadoff today. He was in the 5th spot. So he's been on fire. I think he has 3 or 4 home runs on the season already.
3.
Yeah, I mean you can't not play him now. And Jarred Kelenic against Colorado definitely intrigues me. Colorado doesn't have good pitching. Kelenic's hot. Those would be the 2 I would feel very comfortable putting in my lineup.
And Art, who do you got?
I think, make it a sweep. Kelenic's hotter than Fraley right now, so make it a sweep. Fraley's the drop.
And I wish I could say something different, but also, Jay Fraley, you are not invited to the party. One, because I thought your name was spelled differently before I did the slide, and luckily I updated it because I blew it with Zach Eflin last week. But you're right, he can't hit lefties. Dude sucks. You're not invited, dude. Go home.
That was hilarious last week when you didn't spell Zach Eflin.
You know what? And Marty did that.
His first or his last name.
It's Marty's curse. If Marty misspells your name, you're gonna get hurt.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be crazy? Be like the kiss of death.
Intentionally spell one person's name wrong next week, and let's see if it's a trend.
What if we put your name on the doc? I said it put ERIK, and just to see if you're at the gym and you're oh, I hurt my elbow.
I sprained my ankle walking down the steps.
Yeah, it's like black magic stuff going on. Last segment of the night is going to be going down, looking at bullpens, heading down to the bullpen with Lil Cheesecake as he's looking in some relief pitchers and the things you should know going on down there. So Cheesecake, give us the report.
Yeah, I got some relief pitchers. I want to also do a little down on the farm. I wanted to talk about because was brought up Vaughn Grissom likely coming up. I'm not sure if that's been made official. Grissom raking down in the minor leagues. I'd add him if he's available in your league. A couple pitchers looking pretty good. Ricky Tiedemann's first start of the season struck out 9 in 3 innings, gave up 2 hits. And with the Blue Jays staff, it's possible we could see Tiedemann up there. I'd keep an eye on him. Same with Tanner Bybee for the Guardians. Keep an eye on him as a potential call up soon. He pitched really well. Kyle Manzardo with the Rays AAA team, raking to start the season. And Brett Beatty also raking, and we know that Eduardo Escobar is not. So there's a big movement on Mets Twitter to call up Brett Beatty. So he might be worth a spec ad soon. So there's a little down on the farm down there. But bullpens, I wanted to bring up a few people in particular. Jose Quijada got another save. It seems pretty clear that the Angels are not pitching Estevez on back-to-back days, and Quijada has gotten 2 of the 3 saves that the Angels have had. So, I think he's possibly. I would keep an eye on him for the weekend. He's possibly the top reliever ad that I see going into this weekend. So see how many opportunities he gets. Nick Anderson also got a save for the Braves. However, he, I think, got the save because, one, there weren't any tough left-handers coming up, and A.J. Minter had pitched the day before. So I think that was why he got the save. But I do think that Anderson is the handcuff to Minter, and he's going to be that pitcher who gets the save when they don't want to pitch Minter too many days in a row. C.J. Edwards got a save over the last week, but it was a 2-inning save, and it looks like Finnegan has settled down a little bit. Has not given up a run in his last 3 appearances. So he also got a save too. So it looks like Finnegan is keeping that job for now. Aroldis looking great. If he's available, get Aroldis Chapman. Barlow just got blown up yesterday. Blew a save, gave up 3 runs to lose the game, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. Aroldis looking great, throwing 102. Someone I'd be keeping an eye on if he's available in your league. He's not available in that many, but he's someone you got to look. I wanted to bring up Ian Jabot. I'm not sure how to say his name. He's a Reds reliever. He got a save this week. I think you can disregard this. Alexis Diaz had not pitched for a long time and pitched on the 8th and gave up 3 runs on the 9th. Jabot got a save. I don't think there's anything to. I think it's Diaz's job. I don't think Jabot has the job. Ottavino, another one of these. He got a save this past week, but Robertson pitched the tough part of that game. He pitched to Soto with 2 outs in the 7th with 2 men on when they were up by 2. So they brought him in the highest leverage situation. It looks like that's going to be Robertson's position, the highest leverage reliever. But I still think that Ottavino is only going to be getting these sort of saves where where Robertson has to come in earlier, like he did. As far as to sum up, I think Quijada's the guy I'm looking at. I want to see how Quijada does, and I want to see if Anderson gets more opportunities this weekend.
All right, thanks for Cheesecake for going down and taking our report down there in the bullpen and on the farm. That's going to wrap us up for this episode, though. So thank everybody for tuning in. If you guys are enjoying the content and you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And make sure you leave a comment just as much as you're enjoying the show. If there's any future recommendations of segments or things that you're enjoying, just let us know there. If you guys have not joined the Triple Play Fantasy Discord, we're posting the link on Twitter weekly that you can check out. It also should be in the video description. We have like almost 200 people in the Discord now. So it is really
making people money, man, left and right.
Last few days have been a little cold, but it's fun. We have talk betting, we talk fantasy baseball and all the other fantasy sports as well. So it's good in there. And then you guys are on the podcast feed. Keep doing it. Keep listening there. Every single week, the episode will be out there for you. And ratings and reviews always help us out there. But for Lil Cheesecake, for Marty Party, for Doc, I'm DMendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys next week.